All right, so yesterday we looked at how to solve a system by graphing. Now, graphing is not always going to be the best method, so we are going to learn a few other methods also. So make sure you have your notes out and you are ready to learn. So yesterday we were looking at how to solve a system by graphing. So we would graph the two lines and then we would look for the intersection. So the intersection point would be my solution to the system. Now, if you look at this graph, this point right here, it doesn't perfectly go through the vertices of any of the boxes, right? So it's kind of hard to tell the exact amount that the solution is. It's kind of hard to see the exact number. Now, if we were on a computer, we could do this with some type of computer software or on a calculator, but by hand, it's a little hard to tell. So graphing might not always be the best method to use when your solution isn't a whole number or an integer. So we're going to look at how to solve using another method called substitution. All right, so hopefully most of you have heard the word substitution before and you kind of know what it means. So if I gave you this problem, x plus y equals 12 and y equals 4. Well, to substitute means since this y and this y are the same, I can replace this y right here with the value 4. Okay, so I can say x plus 4 equals 12, and then I could actually solve for x if I wanted to. Okay, so when x is 8, y would be 4. So that would be the answer for this one. Now, normally we have two equations though, right? So we're going to look at how to do substitution to find the solution to a system. All right, so here's a system. As you can see, one of the equations is already solved for a variable, okay? Now remember, these two y values have to be the same. These two x values have to be the same. Well, this guy's already solved for. I know what y equals. It equals all of this. Therefore, if I plug in all of this in for y, I can find the x value that makes it true. So let's go ahead and try to do that. I'm going to substitute in this whole value here for y in the other equation. So I'm going to have 3x plus 4. Now I'm going to do parentheses now. So anytime you are substituting in, you should use parentheses. And that equals 12. Now I'm allowed to do that again because this equals this. So anywhere I see y, I can put in what it equals. All right, now I have to do some distributing. So 3x minus 8x plus 40 equals 12. Combine like terms. Let's move this guy over. Okay, and this is going to give me negative 28. All right, so dividing by 5, I get that x equals, now negative and negative again make a positive, right? So I get x equals 28 over 5. All right, now when x equals 28 over 5, I need to find out what y equals. Now, I know I already have an equation here that's equal to y. So I'm just going to take this x value and I'm going to plug it in to this x right here to find out what y is. So I need a tad more space. So plugging in, I'm going to have y equals, now I'm going to plug in, notice my parentheses, 28 over 5 plus 10. Now remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you just multiply across. Okay, so this is negative 2 times 28, which is negative 56 over 5 plus 10. Now I need to combine like terms, right? So I'm going to change the 10 into a fraction with denominator 5, so multiply top and bottom by 5. So I get y equals negative 56 plus 50 over 5, which is going to give me negative 6 on the top and 5 on the bottom. So there is my solution, all right? That's y, that's x. So my solution would be 28 fifths and negative 6 fifths. Now you would go ahead and you would plug in to check. Okay, so you'd plug this back into both equations to check to make sure that you are right. and then that's going to be our solution. Now, isn't that a gross answer? There's no way I could read that accurately on a graph. So this is one of the methods to do it whenever you can't read the graph accurately. All right, now what about when one of the variables is not already solved for? So if you look at this system right here, I don't have one of the variables already solved for. I have x plus y equals 3. Now it's going to be pretty easy to isolate one of these guys though, isn't it? So we just choose. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite my, I'm going to go ahead and let's solve for x. It doesn't really matter. I could have solved for y. So I'm going to bring the y over. So I'm going to have x equals 3 minus y. All right, so my new system is 5x minus 3y, that's 5, equals a negative 1. And then I solved for x down here, so x equals 3 minus y. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to substitute. So now this is just like the last problem. I take this guy and I plug it in there. So substituting, I get 5 times, notice the parentheses, okay, super important, minus 3y equals a negative 1. Distributing, 15 minus 5y minus 3y equals a negative 1. All right, so then I combine like terms, so 15 minus 8y equals a negative 1. I'm going to bring this guy to the other side. So negative 8y equals negative 16. So y is going to be a positive 2. So now I need to find the x that matches this guy. So I'm going to take this y value and I'm going to plug it in here. All right, so it's easier to plug it into the problem that's already solved for the variable. Okay, so to make my life easier, I'm going to plug it in there. So I'm going to have x equals 3 minus 2. Well, then x is just going to be 1. So my final answer is going to be 1, 2. And I could go ahead and you should plug this in to make sure that you are correct. All right, so these are always everyone's favorite, right? So we are going to be doing some word problems where you're going to have to write a system in order to solve it. Okay, now I know with some of these you could probably guess and check, but the most efficient way is going to be to write a system and then solve it. All right, so an online music company offers 15 downloads for $19.75 and 40 downloads for $43.50. Each price includes a one-time registration fee. What is the cost of each download and the registration fee? So the method here is to first identify what are my unknowns, because remember I should have two, an x and a y, right? So what are my two unknowns? Well, I don't know the cost of each download and I don't know the registration fee. Okay, so let's go ahead and call cost of downloads x. And then I'm going to call the registration fee y. Okay, so let's try to write our equations here. So an online music company offers 15 downloads for $19.75. Okay, now remember that includes the one-time registration fee. So 15 downloads plus the registration fee has to equal $19.75. Okay, so let's clarify that again. Okay, so there was 15 downloads, each of them costing X amount of dollars. I'm not sure how much, plus that one-time registration fee, and that's $19.75. Now the next one, 40 downloads, so 40 downloads now, plus that registration fee is going to give me $43.50. Okay, so here's my system of equations. Now, if I want to solve, well, look at this guy. Y's alone, right? So it's going to be easy to solve for them. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for y for the first one. Let's go ahead and do the first one. So I'm going to have y equals 1975 minus 15x. Now I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to take this whole thing and plug it in right here. Okay? So, giving myself a little more space. I go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do 40x. I don't want to do the same color. So 40x plus, parentheses here, 1975 minus 15x and that has to equal $43.50. Distributing, that's just a positive 1, so I'm going to combine my like terms. 40x minus 15x is going to give me 25x plus 1975 equals 4350. Combine like terms, or I shouldn't say that. I should say solving, right? Bringing it over. So 25x equals, so 4350 minus 1975 gives me 2375. Now I need to divide each side, right? Divide each side by 25. All right, so I need to divide by 25 on each side. It's not letting me move this slide up, so dividing that, I'm going to get x equals 0.95. So what does that mean? That means each download is 95 cents. Now to figure out what the registration fee was, why won't you let me move up? There we go. So at this point, I divided each side by 25, and I got x was 0.95. So now I need to plug in. Okay, I'm going to plug into this guy right here. So y is going to equal 1975 minus 15x, which is 0.95. Okay, so 1975 minus 15 times 0.95, it's a 9. And that's going to give me 1425. So subtracting those two values, I'm going to get 5.5 for y. Okay, so y is 5.5. X is going to be 0.95. Therefore, the question asked me what is the registration fee and what is the cost of the downloads? Well, the registration fee is going to be $5.50, right? Make sure you have the correct units. And then the cost per download is 95 cents. And you could use a dollar sign or a cent sign. All right, guys, here are the you try problems. Give them a shot.